Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Today, going to be talking about a topic that's been all over the front page of the CSGO subreddit and has caused a lot of debate and discussion. I think I'm going to come at it with a different perspective and a different take than many people probably think I'm going to have. And I am, of course, going to be talking about today ESIC, that's the Esports Integrity Committee, and their decision not to ban people for stream sniping in a competition. So there's a history to this, and I've talked about this publicly before. I think I was one of the first people to sort of bring this up, that there had been something going on behind the scenes months ago, back when the Blast had a tournament. And because everything's kind of been played online or in hermetically sealed environments, you know, some coaches have been watching the stream of the game, which is on a delay, although not all streams have delays that are equal to what you would think. We'll get into that topic in a second. And we're using it to sort of keep track of the opponent's economy. Now, it has been widely suggested by ESIC, who have kind of found themselves in this position of being almost like the governing body of esports for the leagues that want to acquiesce and give them that influence. What they recommended was, well, yeah, you know, if your stream sniping is cheating, you're getting an advantage you shouldn't have, and we believe there should be a punishment for it. Now, what happened at this Blast tournament, in fact, I can bring it up on screen now and just show you. What happened at the Blast tournament was that all of the teams, almost, you know, so many big names were seen on broadcast or were reported by other people to be using the stream to ascertain certain information and applying it to their communications. So ESIC went in and they wanted to investigate it all, which would have been dozens and dozens and dozens of man hours, because you have to review all the footage, compile it into a case, present that case to the people you're accusing. They then have the right to appeal, you know, if they don't think the evidence is substantial, and you would have to do that in each instance of the teams. So what actually happened was they said, well, what do you want to do, the Blast? And the Blast said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, well, this is going to be pretty difficult, honestly, because we're probably going to have to ban multiple top-level teams all at once in the scene, and that will affect all of the other people that acquiesce to ESIC. That includes ESL, that includes DreamHack, etc., etc. So apparently, what I'm told is they pulled all the teams together and they said, don't stream snipe again. Don't do it. We'll have to punish you. And it was sort of dealt with behind closed doors. Now, when I revealed that to people, there was a lot of sort of debate about whether or not that was a good decision, whether or not that's fair, because as you know, ESIC haven't held back on banning other people in certain areas. In fact, they've been very harsh on some people, you know, for having admitted to certain offenses. And certainly, if you go and look at the coaching bans, I won't shed any tears for these fuckers that are cheating and using an exploit. But, you know, they've issued even like 3-year bans in some instance. And it's the orgs that are saying, hey, we're happy to employ these people, despite the fact that they are now convicted cheaters. That's a separate topic. I think Zona, his re-employment being the most egregious example. But basically, when Ian, who is the commissioner of ESIC, he went on to an episode of HLTV Confirmed and basically said, I think we're going to see more bans issued for stream sniping in the future. Now, it turned out to be very prescient, because what ended up happening was, if I just go on to the next story that's brought this all dredging up again, MIBR, now, the old MIBR aren't there anymore, the one with Dead and Fallen and Taco and Fur. Those guys sort of ran that team, and yeah, they were one of the teams that was seen at the Blast using the stream. In fact, Steel, now over in Valorant, playing for 100 Thieves, he actually tweeted out about it and said, look, they're watching the stream, and it generated a lot of debate because that MIBR team actually has a history of cheating and using things to their competitive advantage. So this is the new MIBR with a new coach, pretty much a new roster, although, you know, KNG was around at that time. Maybe he could have said something. Again, topic for another day. You guys can tell me what you think about that. And so they went to Flashpoint, and it came up again. They were watching the stream in the background. The stream was on like a 5-minute delay, apparently, and they were using it to sort of keep track of the economy, maybe glean some information about setups. And this was caught by the community. Community pressure snowballs, and fair play to Kogu, unlike Dead before him at MIBR. He came out, admitted he'd done wrong, and said, I'll accept a fine as determined by Flashpoint, and we'll give it to a Brazilian charity. And Flashpoint fined him 10 grand, and it's been given to a Brazilian charity, and it was all dealt with very quickly and cleanly. What came up off the back of that, though, was, of course, the usual, MIBR at it again, cheating and Brazilians, name a more iconic duo, all that garbage on Reddit. I don't subscribe to that at all. I mean, the way I looked at this is it was a new team that weren't involved in the previous drama, which wasn't very well publicized at all. As a result, they got caught with their trousers down doing something that we know other teams were doing as well. And because you know how it goes, people like to make stereotypes, and people like to be antagonistic on social media. They sort of tried to intimate, those people in the peanut gallery, they tried to intimate that this was a continuation of the old ways of MIBR. Not so. I actually said at the time, I think fair enough. I think the fine is more than adequate, all things considered, which I think puts me probably on the wrong side of the argument in the eyes of many people. Anyway, as a result of that, ESIC had to put out a statement about stream sniping because it's still happening. Teams are still doing it. They know, many of these teams know they shouldn't be doing it, and ESIC were like, listen, this is what's happening. So they released this statement, and I'll just read it to you here. ESIC has received and assessed compelling evidence depicting that this behavior has been taking place on an alarmingly regular basis and at all levels of competition. ESIC makes several recommendations to tournament operator members in order to ensure that the threats posed to competitive integrity by this form of behavior are appropriately addressed. And the upshot here is, I'll just take you through the screenshots. You can see here they talk about the thing I showed you earlier, how it happened at earlier tournaments, what their recommendations are, and I'll read you these recommendations if you're interested. I'm obviously trying to keep the video as succinct as possible, but it says, any tournament rule prohibiting the viewing of CSGO matches broadcast streams need to be reviewed and, if necessary, strengthened, republished, and notified to all participants. It is noted that prohibitions within the ESIC Code of Conduct against the access and or use of any direct real-time data feed by players, coaches, or teams remain in place and in full force and effect. The delay between the real-time match action and the stream broadcast must be increased to a minimum of 3 minutes. I think some people have been using 5, as I said earlier. During any technical pause in a match, the broadcast stream should be amended so as to not show any current round information or current round caster or analyst commentary. In Tier 1 CSGO online competition, as a minimum, every effort should be made to include live video feeds from each team in the playing room, with as much of the room and participants covered by video as logistics and practicality allow. So in other words, we want to start filming the players. And then, in recognition of the fact that betting markets are highly likely to be offered to broadcast CSGO matches, whether supported or endorsed by a tournament organizer, ESIC notes that it is imperative to establish countermeasures against the potential exploitation of a broadcast delay for the purposes of betting and fraud being committed by participants of the tournament. That last part there, I'll just explain what I meant by that. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I said I would tell you about this delay issue. Betting sites have in-play bets. You know what I mean? Who's going to score next? Who's going to clutch? Who's going to do this? And as a result, their websites have access to a feed that is done in real time in a lot of cases, and very often done with the tournament organizer's blessing. And what's been going on in North American Counter-Strike, and probably all around the world, if we're just being honest about it, but I've definitely heard behind-the-scenes instances of it in NA. People are selling access to the clean feeds, or they are, saying, here's an account that's untraceable to the players, because you shouldn't really even have like a betting. It's not a good idea to have a betting account if you're a competitor, and if you placed any esports bets, that can face penalties as well. And they say, here, look, log in. This is where you can get access to this feed. And people are basically using a real-time feed while they're playing for call-outs and stuff. Now, I'm not saying this is going on in the top tier of Counter-Strike, but it's definitely something that you need to be mindful about. It's a very real possibility and something that can happen, and that should carry a much stronger penalty than what's been going on here, as ESIC, calls it out. But the main part of this that's drawn so much ire is ESIC have said, we are not going to penalize these teams again, including MIPR, who were fined by Flashpoint. They come up with that penalty, on their own. They weren't instructed to do it by ESIC. And this has caused something of an apoplexy among the community, because they are saying, look, you banned coaches for cheating. Now teams and other coaches of maybe even more notable teams are stream sniping. That's cheating. You admit it's against your rules. You've already had a do-over. Why aren't you punishing these teams here and now? And so what I wanted to do was sort of address that argument head on. You can see as well, this is Michael Slowinski. He's the guy that sparked off the coaching bans by going through all of the demos and finding the exploit that was being used. And he said he's super disappointed that tournament organizers and ESIC decided not to punish those caught stream sniping. How does one get away with what's essentially cheating? How is it fair on those who played fair and potentially lost money, ranking points, or even their jobs? And this is a perspective I completely respect and agree with. But what I wanted to do was essentially put forward something of a counter argument and sort of maybe explain the practicalities behind what ESIC are trying to do, and why maybe this mightn't be the worst decision they're going to make as an entity. Now, just for full disclosure, I do really like Ian Smith, the guy who founded it. I consider him a pal, since he's come into the space. I believe in the ESIC project. I've said that many, many times. I wish every esports league and every games developer would get on board with what they were doing so they could grow. So I am a little bit biased in that sense. But I will say, he's right, Michał. I don't disagree with his point. There are no point in having rules if you will not universally and equally apply them. But I don't think people realize what ESIC are dealing with here. And ESIC, as it is now, is a tiny organization. They've only just took on somebody for dealing with the dissemination of press releases in a full-time capacity. They had to have external help and algorithms help them with the coaching investigation, which, spoiler, is still going on. They found new bugs that other people are exploiting. That's going to come out. We don't know when. They have match-fixing investigations going on across 3 continents, and it's growing all of the time. And they simply don't have the manpower to sort of deal with something that they're trying to address pragmatically. There's also a bigger complication here. We need to think, to a degree, I don't think entirely, this shouldn't be the biggest consideration on our minds, but it is a factor. We need to think, if we say, okay, all of the teams that done it, let's say it's the top 10 teams in the world, and they are going to be banned from all tournaments for 6 months, 12 months, whatever the agreement is. Well, what have we just done to our scene? We've already been losing coaches. We're going to stand to lose some players. We've got problems, unsurmountable amounts of match fixing going on in the semi-pro level. What happens if we end up banning the top teams from all ESL competitions? There's your Pro League fucked. From all DreamHack competitions, that's their circuit fucked. It doesn't just affect the teams. It doesn't just mean the players might lose their jobs, or the coaches might lose their jobs, or the orgs might drop Counter-Strike altogether. It fucks over the leagues, because they've now got no one to compete that anyone wants to watch. Sponsors move away. And so suddenly, this push for competitive integrity on this stream sniping issue means that we could essentially kill the whole scene if we apply the punishment. It was that widespread. I can tell you from the information I know behind the scenes. No joke, this was a lot of top teams. And so now we're left with, well, fuck it. No scene deserves to stand up if everyone in it is dishonest. And again, some days, yeah, I'm with that whole Rorschach, burn it down to the fucking ground and dance on the ashes kind of mindset. But the people out there, the fans, you've got to understand what you're co-signing when you say ban all of those teams. It's the death of competitive Counter-Strike. You have to be okay with that. If you're not, then you might want to look at what ESIC decided and think, okay. And just to underline what they have stated, from now on, any team caught doing it will be hit with the full force of their rules, no matter who it is, because now there can be no excuses. It's been clearly communicated. And I'll be honest, as a lover of Counter-Strike and a lover of fair play, and someone who's dedicated his professional career to ensuring the growth and development of both of those things, I'm happy with this decision. I mean, I have to say it. Yes, I think it sucks that once again, some of the big names are going to get away with using this online era to bend things to their advantage. I don't like that. I think they're pieces of shit for doing it. I'll also add, watching a stream on a 3-minute delay, and maybe more in some cases, and probably less in some, if we're being honest, I don't think it's as bad as the coaching bug, for example, which was a real-time cheat, essentially a wall hack. I don't feel as strongly about it. I don't like it. You can go and look at my history. I've been very consistent. I don't believe that streamers, for example, should be a protected class, and that Twitch should be getting involved with stream sniping unless it happens in their competitions. But equally as well, like when Marky famously got caught doing it, I'm going to call people out and say, yeah, you probably should get kicked out of, FPL or Rank S or whatever it is if you do it. I don't think these are contradictory points. And maybe the way to go here was, rather than apply the law as ESIC has it with the bans, maybe we move and we pivot and we do prize money fines, and that could have been the slap on the wrist, a la they did with MIBR. It's a tough one for me, it really is, but I think ESIC have got it right here, and I think moving forward, this is the right play for the good of Counter-Strike. I don't know, maybe you disagree. I hate when people sort of get away with things, and I hate when bodies sort of have favoritism or biases in the rules, but I understand the limitations ESIC are working with, and I think we're in a better place now, as of, today at the time of recording this video, than we were prior to it. I think everyone's going to learn the lesson, and hopefully no one's going to use anything else again. Just as a final point, many people have said to me down the years, Richard doesn't put any value on online Counter-Strike at all. I hope you understand why now in 2020. I really hope you do, because everyone's been bending the rules and doing all sorts of crazy shit. And our scene, whether people realize it or not now, it's took a massive hit for it. It's sad, especially with Valorant waiting in the wings. We got to get better, Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thanks for staying with me for the whole video. A bit longer than I'd anticipated, but follow me on all the social if you want to get more of my thoughts and hot takes. God knows there's a ton of stuff going on right now, so there'll be other videos in the coming days. Thanks for all the support. Love you all, and see you next time.